Welcome to the build sequence of the Dragon Tiger 1 Initial. Today we'll start with the critical foundational work, preparing the fuel tank and radiator parts. First, we carefully cut these components from the sprue, ensuring we minimize stress on the plastic. Using a sharp hobby knife or precise sprue cutters, we'll snip away the attachment points, working close but not too close to avoid any accidental nicks. Each part is meticulously filed or sanded to remove excess plastic from the sprue gates. This step ensures a smooth fit and seamless assembly later on. While the process may seem repetitive, it's essential for a clean and professional finish, something any Tiger build deserves. At this point, I should mention a little something about the environment in which this build is taking place. You might hear the occasional musical interlude or even some ambient sounds from the TV in the background. It's a unique feature of my workbench setup. Sometimes the melody of a soundtrack will replace the hum of a classic film playing in the distance. So don't be surprised if the narration flows with a little extra rhythm today. Once cleaned and prepped, the fuel tanks get a test fit in the lower hull, and then we move on to cleaning up the fan parts. Following this, we attach the radiator tops. These parts add another layer of detail to the build, bringing the inner workings of the Tiger to life. For those interested in accuracy, I've referenced some drawings I obtained from a DVD I picked up over a decade or more ago. It's a fantastic resource, though I'm unsure if it's still available today. These drawings provide additional insight into the layout of the Tiger 1's components, helping to refine this part of the build. The fuel tank in the initial production Tiger 1 stored gasoline used to power the Maybach HL210 P45 engine. This was a 12-cylinder, liquid-cooled gasoline engine with a displacement of 21 liters, capable of producing 650 horsepower at 3,000 RPM. While the HL210 was advanced for its time, it struggled to fully meet the demands of the Tiger 1, a vehicle weighing over 57 tons. The engine's performance, though adequate during early deployments, highlighted the trade-offs involved in designing a heavy tank with such immense power and weight requirements. The fuel tanks themselves were designed to hold approximately 540 liters of gasoline, giving the Tiger 1 an operational range of about 100 to 140 kilometers on-road, but significantly less in off-road conditions. This range was limited by the tank's high fuel consumption, which could reach up to 4.75 liters per kilometer in challenging terrain. The tanks featured angular shapes with internal baffles to prevent fuel sloshing during movement, ensuring stability. The filler neck assembly consisted of a sealing cap and mounting collars, designed to keep the tank secure and free from contamination. Positioned at the rear of the tank, the fuel tanks were functional but vulnerable to enemy fire, which could ignite the gasoline and lead to catastrophic damage. Cooling the Maybach HL210 engine was another critical challenge. The initial Tigers were equipped with dual radiator system, paired with multiple cooling fans to dissipate the intense heat generated during operation. The radiators, located in the rear of the tank alongside the fuel tanks, were designed with intricate cooling fins to maximize airflow and heat transfer. However, the demanding conditions of the Eastern Front exposed the limitations of this system. Dust and debris often clogged the radiators during summer operations, while freezing temperatures in winter could cause coolants to thicken or freeze entirely, leading to engine overheating or failure. Protective covers were installed over both the fuel tanks and radiators to shield them from debris and damage. Within the engine compartment, These covers were lightweight and removable, allowing for easier maintenance, while cutouts and vents provided necessary airflow. However, the close proximity of the fuel and cooling systems within the confined engine bay made them difficult to access for field repairs. The integration of these components reflected the German engineers' focus on maximizing efficiency within the Tiger I's design. However, the vulnerabilities of these systems became apparent during early deployments. The HL210 engine, while capable, was underpowered for the Tiger I's weight, and the demands placed on the cooling and fuel systems pushed them to their limits in combat conditions. Crews often had to contend with overheating engines, limited fuel availability, and the constant threat of rear attacks that could disable the tank. For all its early mechanical challenges, the initial production Tiger I was a revolutionary vehicle, demonstrating the potential of heavy tanks in modern warfare. The lessons learned from its early design, including the shortcomings of the HL210 engine, directly influenced later improvements, such as the adoption of the more powerful Maybach HL230 engine in subsequent production runs. These early Tigers were the foundation for the legend of the Tiger I, a machine that redefined armored warfare despite its inherent flaws. With the radiators in place, it's time to shift focus to the exhaust stacks. These parts will also undergo the same careful cleanup process to remove sprue marks and prepare them for a textured finish. To achieve the right effect, we'll apply a thin down layer of Tamiya putty. This technique replicates the rough, weathered surface of the real exhaust stacks, adding a layer of authenticity to the model. It's a small detail, but one that makes a big difference in the final appearance. When working on the heavy cast metal exhaust covers of the initial Tiger I, one of the key tasks is to replicate the rough textured appearance of the real cast metal, while seamlessly blending away any visible traces of where those bolts that we put in have been glued. This step is crucial for enhancing realism, as smooth and untouched areas can betray the model's assembly. For the texture itself, thinned down Tamiya putty works excellently. I thinned down the Tamiya putty with some acetone, and then using a stiff bristle brush or an old paintbrush, I stippled the thin putty onto the exhaust cover in light random strokes. This stippling motion creates the uneven pitted texture characteristic of cast metal. Avoiding overworking the surface, the goal is to create subtle imperfections, not exaggerated patterns. As you apply the texture, pay special attention to the areas around the bolts. The texture here will help disguise any traces of the assembly process, including glue marks or overly clean edges around the bolt bases. Using the stippling technique to feather the texture outward from the bolts, blending the surface seamlessly with the rest of the exhaust cover. Next, we move on to the side armor pieces, a critical step in shaping the Tiger I's formidable hull. Dragon has carefully designed these as separate components, allowing for finer detailing and flexibility for future modifications, such as Zimmerit coating or other features seen in later Tiger variants. This thoughtful engineering approach adds depth to the kit and ensures historical accuracy. The hull itself is constructed as a large hub with multiple separate elements, including the outer hull sides, which are provided as individual panels. For this particular version, the plain side panels are accurate for the early Tiger I design. featuring the welded locking fillets and a small square weld mark on the lower rear corner. These subtle but important details reflect the extensive research that Dragon has poured into this kit, elevating its authenticity. We start by carefully removing the side armor pieces from the sprue, ensuring that all attachment points are handled with precision to avoid damaging the details. Using a fine sanding stick or hobby knife, we clean up the edges and attachment points, creating a smooth surface for assembly. Once prepared, we dry fit the panels to the hull to check alignment and ensure everything sits snugly. When it's time to glue the panels in place, I prefer to use the thicker Tamiya cement. Its slightly slower drying times gives me more control during assembly, allowing for finer adjustments to ensure the panels align perfectly. The thicker glue also helps fill any small gaps along the edges, creating a seamless join without compromising the fine details like the weld seams and locking fillets. Care is taken to avoid excess glue application, especially around the intricate details, as these are the highlight of the kit. With the armor panels securely attached, the Tiger I begins to take on its characteristic profile. The precision of Dragon's engineering combined with the careful use of thicker Tamiya glue ensures a clean and sturdy assembly. At this stage, the hull starts to convey the Tiger's rugged and utilitarian design, setting the foundation for the next steps in the build. The attention to detail in this part of the assembly truly brings out the historical accuracy and craftsmanship of this legendary tank. Now it's time to tackle the front Glacis plate, a defining feature of the Tiger I that gives the tank its unmistakable profile. This part requires careful attention to detail as it forms a key visual element of the model. We'll start by removing the Glacis plate from the sprue, as always using precise cuts to avoid damaging the edges. Afterward, we'll clean up any attachment points or excess material with sandpaper or a file, ensuring a smooth surface. This step is especially important here, as the Glacis plate's finish will be highly visible on the completed model. Once prepped, we dry fit the Glacis plate to the hull to check for alignment. Dragon's engineering usually provides a good fit, but it's always worth taking the time to test it before applying glue. If necessary, a little extra sanding or trimming can ensure a perfect join. With the Glacis plate secured, the Tiger I's front armor begins to take shape, giving us a glimpse of the Tiger's iconic silhouette.
And gooey cinnamon bread twists and a 2-liter of Coke. It's the perfect only at Domino's. The UPS stores.
With the Glacis plate in place, we move on to the front spare track holder, a detail that highlights the functional design of the Tiger I. Dragon includes a unique spacing jig to ensure precise placement. After carefully removing the holder parts from the sprue and cleaning up the edges with a sanding stick, we use the jig to position the holder accurately on the Glacis plate. Once aligned, the holder is glued securely in place. With the holder attached, the spare track links can be added. Pre-painting and weathering these links can enhance realism, emphasizing the practical features of the tank. This step gives the front of the Tiger its rugged, battle-ready appearance. The first 20 initial Tigers featured mirrored tracks, a design implemented to optimize traction and stability. This meant that the tracks on the left and the right sides were unique, with distinct guide horn and tread orientations. While the design offered theoretical advantages, it created significant challenges in production and field logistics. Manufacturing two distinct sets of tracks increased complexity and managing them during combat made replacements and repairs more difficult. To address these issues, later Tigers adopted identical tracks on both sides, streamlining production and maintenance. Dragon's kit faithfully replicates the mirrored track design of these early Tigers, staying true to the unique characteristics of the initial production models. This attention to detail is a standout feature of the kit, making the build even more engaging for those who appreciate historical accuracy. However, there is one unfortunate detail that Dragon got wrong. The guide teeth on the track links lack the openings seen in the original design. These openings were a notable feature of early mirrored tracks, and their absence here detracts slightly from the overall accuracy of an otherwise impressive kit. Now we move on to assembling the front spare tracks. Dragon includes individual track links in this kit, which are designed to reflect the mirrored configuration of these early Tigers. Fortunately, these links come bagged and already cut from the sprue and cleaned up, so we just have to glue everything together. While the molding quality is excellent, there are small pin marks on the inside surfaces of the links, which I take time to remove for a cleaner appearance. Once prepared, I use Tamiya extra thin cement to glue the links together. The cement's quick setting time allows me to secure each link in place while maintaining enough flexibility to adjust alignment. Working one link at a time ensures an even, seamless fit. Attention to alignment is critical here, as the mirrored nature of the tracks requires extra care during assembly. After the links are assembled and the glue is fully dried, the track is carefully seated into the spare track holder on the Glacis plate. The fit is snug, and some gentle coaxing may be needed to position it perfectly. If you plan to pre-paint or weather the tracks, leaving them unglued until detailing is completed is a good idea. With the spare tracks in place, the Glacis plate gains another layer of detail, enhancing the Tiger I's historical accuracy and rugged appearance. Dragon's inclusion of the correct mirrored tracks, despite the oversight with the guide teeth openings, is a testament to their research and engineering.
Friends and family recommend Force Factor. Rush to Walmart and unleash your potential with Force Factor.
Let's talk about sex. As you get a little older, things tend to work a little.
Warhams.com.
The external starter guide plate is a small but important feature on the rear hull of the Tiger I, providing a connection for the manual starter crank. This allowed crews to manually start the engine in the field when necessary. To begin, carefully remove the guide plate from the sprue and clean up the attachment points with a sanding stick or hobby knife. Dry fit the part to ensure proper alignment. Using Tamiya extra thin cement, glue the guide plate in place. The thin cement flows into the joints for a secure bond without obscuring the detail. Interestingly, in some photographs of Tiger 100, the external starter guide plate is missing entirely, suggesting that it may not have always been installed or was removed in the field. For accuracy, this detail can be treated as optional depending on how you want to depict the vehicle. Whether included or omitted, this step adds another layer to the precision of your build.
Liberty!
Highs and lows of bipolar 1? Ask about Brainier bipolar 1. And you can help take control of your symptoms with Vraylar. Some medicines only treat the lows or highs. Vraylar treats depressive, acute manic, and mixed episodes of bipolar 1.
Way more accurate than the Tamiya one.
Spectral relief for all bipolar 1 symptoms. And any sleepiness and stomach issues are all here for several weeks. Ask about Vraylar and
My first time going on tour, I want to say I was like 8. Now I get to do all the stuff I was doing in Philly, but like running around the entire world. Hi.
In step 8, we focus on assembling the bow gunner's machine gun, which includes both interior and exterior components. The interior parts are designed to make the machine gun movable, adding functionality and realism to the build. The exterior assembly includes the gun mount part B18 and the driver's protective armor. When working with the protective armor, note that the upper section can be positioned either up or down, depending on how you want to depict the vehicle, whether actively protecting the crew or lowered. For additional customization, the kit provides 2 optional covers for the bow machine gun. One is a canvas cover designed to protect the weapon from dust when the gun is not in use or when the tank is on the road. The other is a place specifically designed for use with the snorkel apparatus, part of the deep wading configuration. These options allow you to tailor the build to represent the Tiger I in various operational setups. As you assemble this section, test fit the parts carefully to ensure smooth operation, particularly the movable components. These details add a layer of versatility and historical accuracy, letting you bring your Tiger to life with the configuration of your choice.
No, too risky. They could kill the president.
It's okay. We have training device on job.
The driver's vision port is provided in two configurations, a single-piece open assembly and a 4-part assembly that allows you to position the visor either open or closed. Additionally, the kit includes a clear part for the internal vision block, adding an extra level of detail to the assembly.
This is our fellow Mark. Once again,
Oh, he's got such a speech, eh?
you got instincts.
Okay, I would be careful with the front part here because when I went to go and glue this in, it wasn't going because it was too low. Like even though I followed the instructions here of gluing it down all the way, when I did that, I couldn't put this underneath because there's a little flange here. And I couldn't get it in, so I had to lift it. But once I did that, it almost might be better to put this in before you put this in. Yeah, so there you go, like that. All right. It's a tight fit. Time for the engine cover. So much ahead. This is so much ahead compared to the old Tamiya versions. So there's two types of cover over this. There's two that you can use. One is for using with the snorkel, which probably clamps right down on top, and then this one here is open. Now I don't want to use very much glue. This section of the Tiger One's upper hull is a single large molding that includes separate engine access doors, rear intake, grate panels, and the front crew hatches. It accurately represents the initial production layout, featuring subtle weld seams and a cast texture on the panels between the engine grates. The rear engine deck is highly detailed with correctly styled deck grates. The two rear panels are separate parts and include inner grate panels, allowing you to position the grates either open or closed. This feature highlights the value of the included inner radiator details, and there is also a separate supporting latch for added realism. The snorkel attachment cover is a separate part, providing the option to fit the snorkel device, while the central engine access door includes a cover plate for the shier gear. So here's the hull top, and it looks beautiful, I gotta say. An alternate closed cover is also provided for use with the snorkel configuration. The large central forged intake cap is a separate part and features the star tightening lug. There is internal detailing on the intake opening, though it won't be visible unless the assemblies are displayed apart as if undergoing maintenance. Additional features include a well-molded fire extinguisher for the right side of the deck, completing the detailed and accurate representation of the engine deck. Now, I don't want to really glue this in yet because I still have to put the gas tank and all that stuff in there. This side doesn't fit down as well as this side, so I don't know what's up with that. Maybe I'm just going to sand that down a bit. All right. This is pretty hard to, this is a bullet deflector that's in front of the driver's viewport. And it's pretty hard to put it on the wrong way because there's a big one and a small one that corresponds to pins on the part. Just drop that in there. I'm going to skip putting the tools on and some of these other details and get right into this gun barrel. Now there's something about Dragon instructions, and there's some other companies too, that they get it a little complicated. Like D1, D2, D3, not sure what that means. You also get like different pieces, either A7 for the front or P10. Okay, for D2 you can either have P9 or A7. D3 is like that. So I think D3 refers to what paint scheme you're gonna do, but not really. I just don't understand. In any case, I don't know. All right, we're gonna go with D1. And that's going to require parts A. You can pick from these three mantlets. This kind of looks like it might be an older sprue. It's got a different feel of plastic. I'm gonna go with this number 7. Okay, so we need A20. So A1, A11, There's a bit of a seam, but it's a lot better than having to deal with a 2-part barrel and a seam. You could make flat spots, which is not what you want. So you see that little seam down in there? The witness line? Well, something like that, I'll take glue and use it to melt that. So just make sure everything is perpendicular. At the front, the kit offers a choice of 4 mantlets as mentioned before. One is carried over from the earlier Panzerkampfwagen 6P, which is Porsche kit, though it's unlikely you'd use it here. The 3 new mantlets include a separate one-piece gun collar, each featuring recessed screw heads at the front of the collar in 3 positions. An impressive detail that's a first for any plastic kit. The 88mm barrel options are equally varied. You can choose the original full barrel and muzzle brake from the Panzerkampfwagen 6P kit, a new 3-part plastic barrel molded without seam lines, or a full metal barrel. The metal option includes a newly designed one-piece muzzle brake with a separate end cap and internal fillet. Both the plastic and metal barrels also feature a recoil spring that is trapped when attached to the mantlet. While this spring mechanism is a fun feature, it feels more gimmicky than practical, unless you enjoy testing small moving parts for amusement. They also have a metal barrel, which I've chosen not to use because I just like dealing with the plastic. But let's take a look at that one in any case. But then again, I'm going to change my mind I'm going to use the metal one after all because it's just, especially at this joint, it's just cleaner. There's also this spring, which is a bit of a gimmick, but oh well. All right, we'll have to come back, drill this out. The first thing that's going to go on is C19, which fits like that. And then this goes there. So that goes over that. So we need A9. So that goes like that. I think maybe that goes inside. I need to see. The instructions really aren't that clear. The drawing is not clear. And this is just me using my brain, which might cause some problems. Yeah, it goes on the inside. Yep, so there you go. Now I just want the most minimum amount of glue. So I've got this extra thin. Wait, that is extra thin. This is it's all gone. All right. I'll bet. Thanks for tuning in to part 2 of this Dragon Tiger 1 initial build series. I hope you enjoyed following along as we explored the intricate details and unique features of this fantastic kit. Your support and enthusiasm means a lot, and I look forward to continuing the journey in part 3. If you have any questions, tips, or insights to share, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime and in between time, that's another edition of Jet Scale Models. Y'all come back now, you hear?